Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. We've got some images. Here it is. Not what I was expecting, I'm not going to lie, because this was the first image that was revealed. I mean, look. They sold it as an animation. I can't remember them ever saying it was going to be an anime, but they've definitely gone that style. I don't hate it. Like, it looks good. Just wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting this. Bit of an odd one, really. You know, they even released some concept art that was, again, nothing like anime. For those that don't know, because this is a bit of an odd start to the video, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim is an animated movie that Warner Brothers has been working on with some of the original creators of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, right? Some of the original people behind that got on board to do this as well. So it seemingly was in pretty good hands. They've been working on it for a while. It's going to be released in theatres, which is pretty crazy, you know, to have that, I think. I think it's really cool that it's going to be released in theatres. I can't remember them ever selling it as an anime. I remember them selling it as an animation. And then when we saw images like this, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. You know, this looks great. This looks gritty and just hardcore. Like, that reminds me of like 2000 AD comics. For those that don't know anything about that, it's like Judge Dredd, not just Judge Dredd, but it, you know, bit of Schlan or Schlane involved in there. Like, it's very, yeah, it's very like that. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be cool. And then we've got this, and I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. Like, this looks solid. You know, look at that. Doesn't that look amazing? But it's not what I thought. So, I don't know. We're going to take a look at this article, though, from Variety. Because they say apparently that there was 20 minutes of epic footage at Annecy, introducing a headstrong Princess Hera of Rohan. And so, like, when you hear that, you're always a bit like, oh, okay, cool. So they're rehashing things. Like, that just sounds like a rehash, doesn't it, of what was in the Lord of the Rings. Like, we've got another headstrong princess of Rohan. Like, okay, that's a bit lame, isn't it? Like, that's not creative. But whatever, let's take a look. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Turn the bell notifications on. And please do check out my Patreon, which is linked down below. Subscribe. It's the first link there. Help me, because we get demonetized here. And help me avoid doing those stupid adverts that you see on everyone else's channel. Because I do get asked, I just don't do them. So, help out. Anyway, let's take a look, shall we? So, Warner Brothers Animation, New Line Cinema, and Solar Entertainment previewed 20 minutes of its upcoming anime feature. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did say anime. I don't know. But it's Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, receiving thunderous applause during the packed presentation on Tuesday today at the Annecy Animation Festival. Director Kenji Kamiyana said he was inspired by not just J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings books, but by the films, well, that makes sense. The films of Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, who were confirmed as executive producers of the movie during the session. So they did come back. Maybe that's why he was like. I'm not gonna say it's bad. I would have liked this. No. Anyway, this could be amazing. By the way, this is not a negative video. It's just like, you know, like expectation, reality. Like, okay, cool. Like, all right then. Anyway, whatever. It says here, the new story is set nearly 200 years before Bilbo Baggins comes into contact with the Ring of Power and centres on the House of Helm Hammerhand, the King of Rohan, voiced by Brian Cox, with a focus on his daughter. Could still be good. The strong-willed Princess Hera, voiced by Gaia Wise. I'd never heard of that name before, ever. In the clip, a dispute erupts during a council meeting, leaving Wulf, a ruthless Dunlending lord seeking vengeance. Miranda Otto reprises her Lord of the Rings role as Éowyn, and this time as the movie's narrator. So it was Éowyn who did the last boss babe thing in... Not really boss babe, was it? That is not the right words. But you get what I mean. Like, she was the last one that was like a strong female in Lord of the Rings. So she's going to be the film's narrator. That's not bad. It says this. There is such power to the story, said Kamiyama, whose credits include the TV series Blade Runner Black Lotus, Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex. Assisted by a translator, he was joined in the highly anticipated session by producer Philippa Boyens, who also co-wrote the story, Jason DeMarco and Joseph Chu in conversation with Andy Serkis. Pretty cool. Like, that's a cool lineup to have, isn't it? DeMarco emphasised that with the stylish anime look, the filmmakers didn't set out to make an animated Peter Jackson movie. Rather, they wanted to make a Kamiyama movie. That's fine. The fans are going to go nuts for this, enthused Serkis, who will reprise his role as Gollum in Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. They really are bulking this out, aren't they? They're really trying to build this into like a, I loathe the term cinematic universe, but a bigger franchise. That's very clearly what they're trying to do. I mean, look, inevitably it's going to piss all over what Prime's doing, Amazon Prime. Like, everyone wants this rather than Amazon Prime. That's for sure. And he's also going to be directing. He's also directing that. During the session, he also teased his performance capture-based retelling of Animal Farm, which he's directing, saying it's a contemporary take on George Orwell's classic novel. So this is going to. I mean, they're hedging their bets on this. This is going to be opening in theatres in December 13th, and internationally beginning December 11th. So we get to watch it before you guys in America. So that's cool. Ha 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 ha. No, that is cool. I'm glad about that. Right, there's also this information from Entertainment Weekly. It says, meet the rebellious heroine and fascinating villain of Lord of the Rings, the anime prequel. So, I actually really like some of the information in here. It's quite interesting. I'm filming this after I've already edited the video, so I'm coming back in to re-edit this into it. So it says here, the very first film adaptations to Lord of the Rings were animated, and now the next one will be as well. Sure, fine. Let's move on from that. Of course, The War of the Rohirrim will look very different from Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, released in 1978. This is anime. And producer Philippa Boyens, who along with Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh co-wrote the screenplays for Jackson's live-action Lord of the Rings films, immediately saw the potential of putting this story in that format. So that makes some sense as to some of the story elements here. It says this, when they suggested anime, that's when my brain really started whirring. Immediately the idea of telling the story came to me. They had a number of different ones they were going to pitch to me, but I was quite bossy and I was like, no, I know exactly what this needs. I immediately felt that it would work for anime because it's so character-based and also contained within its own world. It speaks to certain things that work really well within Japanese storytelling. So the story of Helm Hammerhand, the king of Rohan, voiced by Brian Cox, is told briefly in J.R.R. Tolkien's appendices to The Lord of the Rings, and the epic details excited Kamiyama to take on the challenge of adapting it into a feature-length film. It says this is quite exciting. This is the story of the most powerful king in Rohan's history, someone who defeated his enemies with his bare fists. Why did his lineage have to end with him? I think there is a lesson in hubris there, and also for a need for responsibility and awareness in their power. We live in an age where all over the world we face reality of war again. What then is power? What is the responsibility of those who possess it? It is something they need to think about by thinking together with those who don't. It's quite interesting. Boyens and screenwriter Phoebe Gittins expanded on Tolkien's original story. In particular, they wanted to give a certain character her own name. In the appendices, where the story is drawn from, we get these quite interestingly drawn male characters, and then we get this young female character who is never named. And that was really interesting to me. We know Helm has a daughter, and we know that she was central to the conflict that happened, but myself and especially screenwriter Phoebe Gittins were drawn to her. We could feel the weight of being that unnamed daughter, which immediately piqued our interest. Who was she? How did she live? In The War of the Rohirrim, Helm's daughter is named Hera, and she's voiced by Gaia Wise. The actress says her character bears a strong resemblance to the heroines of Hayao Miyazaki films like something of The Valley of the Wind, than to classic Lord of the Rings heroines like Arwen or Eowyn. She would lay down her life for her people. Comparing her to Arwen and Eowyn, they're already fully formed women. What I loved about Hera is she's fierce, she's complex, she's rebellious. Hera might have her match though in the film's antagonist, Wolf, voiced by Luke Pasqualino, is leading the armies of Dunlendings against Helm's Kingdom. We have an exceptionally great antagonist in this story. He's been one of my favourite antagonists to have written across all of the films I've worked on. That's quite interesting. Wolf's strength as a character, according to Boyens, is precisely the fact that he's not an evil wizard or a dark lord like the more famous villains in Lord of the Rings. He's just human. In some ways, that makes him even more dangerous. He speaks so directly to a lot of the crisis that we're facing today. He's a really fascinating character and exciting too. You don't know what he's going to do, and some of the choices that he makes are just breathtaking in a good way. So there you go. This information literally dropped. I've already edited this video. I'm going to re-edit it, but hopefully you enjoyed this additional info. This makes me more excited. But look, it looks great. You know, the imagery looks solid. I just don't know quite what I make of it yet. I mean, it is beautiful, isn't it? Look at that. That is absolutely stunning. Stunning and brave, you might say. No, like it's beautiful anime, and you can say it's you know what? You can say it's an anime because it's a Japanese guy working on it. I think that counts. But I think this is cool. I just think, I don't know, what do I make of it? I don't know. I really liked that art style. Here we go. I really liked this. I thought this was sick. You know? Like, again, shades of 2000 AD. It looked brilliant. Never mind. Thoughts? I'd love to hear it. I mean, look. Could this be some weird boss babe... Again, wrong term for Lord of the Rings. Boss wham and nonsense? Yeah, probably. It could be. Of course it could be. But if it's a good story, I don't mind. Right? I'm not one of these people that's, you know, gynophobic. I don't mind if it's a good story. However, I feel like the creativity is somewhat hampered if you're telling a story about Rohan and still showing a really, really strong female princess again. Like, that's, to me, not creative. I'd like to see something a bit different, but never mind. Thoughts down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.